Hi! Today we're going to use different design tricks that make a room feel visually bigger. We won't add any square footage, instead we'll use optical illusions that change how our brain reads the space. To do this, I'm building this simple room in Homestyler so we can apply all our ideas in the same layout and clearly compare the results. I'll keep this part quick, just tracing the wall from a floor plan to create our room, so we have a starting point. Through this video, I'm going to focus on the living room, and by the end, you will see how small design decisions make a big impact, even when the actual size stays exactly the same. The first trick we're going to use in our space is furniture scale and color. As you see, in our living room we have the typical composition of the TV, and we obviously need to put a sofa on the other side. We can put a giant sofa which has a darker color, and it takes a lot of space and a lot of attention in the room. Instead of the darker sofa, we can use the smaller one and the lighter one. So how does this trick work? The thing is that the lighter colors look further away, the darker colors look closer. And the smaller details in the room make, in the comparison, the rest of the room feel bigger. So here's once again, if we put a giant sofa in a smaller room, the room will look even smaller. So proportionally, it would be smarter to put in a smaller space, smaller furniture. So then the size of the actual room and the size of the furniture will balance each other and everything will look bigger. Let me just render this room. I'm just gonna render these images to have them, so then we can later compare all different designs. The next thing is the floor illusion. Right now we have a lighter floor color, but if in our room we have a darker color of the floor, again, the darker color looks visually, optically closer to us, so that makes this border between the lighter wall and the darker floor more obvious, and the space is a little tighter. So when we have something like this, the best solution, quick little trick, would be to use the lighter area rug. We'll just put a lighter, and the bigger it is, the better. So don't be afraid to put an oversized rug. It will lighten up the space. The only downside of this method, it's just a quick solution, the quick trick if you have a darker floor and you want the room to look bigger. But with this lighter area rug, we have this edge, the difference between the darker floor and the lighter rug, which will visually create and emphasize this smaller rectangle, which we normally don't want to. So in our example, we have a lighter floor in the room, and you see how it immediately expands everything. And again, we can use the same lighter area rug here as well. And the next thing we're gonna do, actually I have another area rug which I want to here it is. Natural air rug, which is comparable color-wise with our flooring. So this is the second trick, yes, the lighter flooring. And then the next one is we're gonna work mainly with this wall, because when we enter this living room, this is the first wall we see. So we normally emphasize and make the accent wall on the main wall of the room. Which one is the main? Is the one you see the first when you enter the room. Here, obviously, if you look on the floor plan, this is our entrance, and from the entrance, we don't see the wall which is on our right. Almost nothing is seen here. We can see this big empty wall. So we are mainly gonna work with it. And we can apply different materials. I personally like dark colors. The dark color creates this cozy feeling. It feels more like more grounded. It feels like a hug, like the interior hugs you around. But if we apply too many dark colors everywhere, the room will look tiny. It shrinks, visually shrinks. It doesn't contract, but it visually looks smaller. So if our task is to make the room visually bigger, we want to use the lighter materials. But if we have already white wall, what else can we do? How to make it even lighter? There is the trick number 3 is to use the light. So we can add the light on this wall. It can be different sources of light. It can be floor lamps. So we can add the floor lamp. We can add the table lamp. Those will add us some lighting, but the other way to add the light is actually add the second layer to this wall and hide the LED light behind it. So what we have is this construction of an arches, which is not touching the wall, so there is a little distance behind it, where we can put LED strips. And that will help us to light up our space. Yeah, let's render this example. We'll have the comparison. Next, what we can do else to this room, you might have heard about the lines that if we add the lines, the vertical lines will add the height of the room. How we can add the vertical lines besides just adding the wallpapers with the vertical lines? Anything which goes up and down, like for example these arches, or any wooden panels which go from floor to ceiling, or anything vertical, especially if it's emphasized, will add the height. The other thing we can add here is the curtains which go from floor to ceiling. It will add us additional lines. Let's add those. Yeah, we don't want a lot of decoration or additional details. It should be something really simplistic. Maybe just like this. Or one single curtain on one side. So here is our curtain. Yeah, try to make it going all the way from floor to ceiling, because if it goes somehow partially, this will create us additional horizontal line, or if it's not touching the floor, which is even worse. So the more horizontal lines, the shorter will be the space. So this will help us to extend it up and down. What else can we do here besides this? Actually, let's take a quick look at our space. It already has some kind of interest. It adds interest to the wall, but doesn't make it too heavy. Let's do this. Just for comparison, just for this, the clear one. Then the next, what other options we can use? We have already this wall placed, and we can use other materials. For example, we can use the wallpapers. Besides just a regular pattern of the wallpaper, we can use the actual picture I have this already uploaded example with the tropical forest. So when the picture has some depth to it, it kind of continues the room, like instead of, so it tricks our brain. Instead of thinking that the wall is right there, we can see some depth in front of this wall. Let's render this one. What else? The effect which will give the most impact would be applying the mirrors on this wall. Of course, it's not going to be one giant mirror, it will be panels. We can cover the entire thing, or we can go and return back our arches and place the mirrors inside the arches. And see what happens. Let's compare with the example when the entire wall is a mirror. Yeah, now let's compare. Let's take a look and compare what we have when we have just lighter walls, lighter flooring, lighter furniture, a little bit boring and generic. So this wall obviously lacks some kind of interest. That's why we started adding something, some kind of design to this main wall that we see. And let's compare it with the same space, but everything is darker. Darker tones on the walls, on the ceiling. Yes, it's cozy, but it shrinks the space a lot. Even having this exactly the same furniture. Just one accent wall. Again, we see the border between the lighter and the darker color. So here we will see exact size of this one wall. When on the previous example, we kind of don't see where it ends. So this makes the room smaller in its own way too. So now the room becomes bigger because we add this lighter tones to the and LED lights to this wall. This can add some depth, a little bit not matching picture because we have the city behind the window and this tropical forest kind of has not much sense unless you really want to bring some nature in your space. The mirrors give the illusion of the depth and kind of feels like there is another space behind this wall, like this living room is bigger. This one would be the pretty bold kind of trick because we have the mirror covering the entire wall. We have the illusion that the space is twice bigger than it actually is. Just compare this to that. I like more, this would be my favorite. I like this idea the most. Or maybe just the white arches. This kind of adds a little more depth to it, more interest. Oh, actually, yes, one more thing I wanted to say, that you can combine those tricks together and use either each one of them or combine two of them, mirrors with lighter furniture or the area rugs color with the flooring color and LED lights. So you can make a combination or try all of them at the same time. So these tricks don't change the size of, don't change the physical size of your space, but they change how it feels. By understanding how light, scale, and perspective work together, you can make almost any space feel more open, more balanced, more breathable. We were just using optical illusions and see how different the same space feels. And if you found these tricks helpful, let me know which one you are most likely to try. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.